Hi, hello, this is JulesTheHuman here, and welcome to the JulesTheHuman Anime Hour. I'm one of your hosts, JulesTheHuman, and every week we go out into the world and watch a little bit of anime, and then we come back here and talk about it. And today is the second time we're going to be talking about the anime Kiznaiver, episode 5 through 8 today. We're going to be reviewing, we're going to be talking about it, because then it's going to be going on to our anime list here for season 2. We have rated all of the anime from season 1. Now we're on to season 2, and we're making our way through so many different anime. Where is it going to be? Nobody knows. But next week, after we finish the season, we're going to be picking a brand new anime from the list. The anime chest of dreams of anime that have been picked by me or Matt, and anime that have been picked by you. So the way you can enter a new anime into the chest will be 500 bits on Twitch. 500 bits on Twitch gets you an anime in the chest, or a $5 super chat on YouTube, because we're streaming on YouTube as well. So I don't go on this journey alone. I go on it with my co-host, Matt Galley. Matt, how are you doing this week?
I am looking...
Drunk.
No. I had one drink. I am looking to respectfully ask CZ to stop submitting anime that rip my heart out of its chest. Out of my chest.
Yeah, I want some
not literally. I mean,
I want some like
this
action.
This is good. I like where this is going. I like the a lot of things that we were talking about last week in terms of like, where do we think this is going? Like, what's the point of the setups and stuff like that? I do really think we were kind of hitting nails on the head where the direction it's going is, you know, it's the real Kiznaivers were the friends we made along the way.
Yeah.
But we knew that was going to be the direction, but I think it's just the way this show decides to handle its subject matter. It's showing that it's able to kind of like deal with heavy themes like with respect and with in a respectful sense that like develops the character and doesn't like demean them for the
feelings that they have,
the feelings that they have, their shortcomings. They're flawed. We have a group of flawed characters who are learning to overcome those flaws as time moves forward, and they were set up in a way that like I liked them all enough to be sold on that being the journey that we get moving forward, and that's exactly what we kind of have been getting moving forward, and I'm okay with that.
All the good stuff you're saying about the anime, I would have to pose that with I guess we're talking broadly before we get into the actual episodes, but I wish there was more concrete things about the main story, because yes, you're right, they are giving a lot of depth to these characters. A lot of the stuff that I usually would say, oh, I just want the characters to just hang out and vibe and stuff, I'm getting a lot of that, but I would like some more forward direction. So I don't know if this perfectly threads the line with the ratios of hanging out to main story, because I think it's still a little off in the other direction, which is new, because it's usually just like, okay, there's so much story here, but now I'm like, can we get some more story? Like, what are we doing here? Because some of it, and a lot of it did touch my heart, like you're saying in this couple episodes that we're going to talk about. But I still don't think I was more sure that we were going to get something in Tower of God than I was in this one. I feel like we are not going to get any conclusion here at all.
I definitely agree with you. I think I touched on that a bit in the last episode, where like I felt like moving forward it was definitely going to be like more like touching on themes of, you know, human nature, because of the whole like idea behind the Kizna program. It's kind of provoking that kind of storytelling to come to the front, and we only get these little itty bitty asides of the kind of grander picture that's playing out overhead. And I can't remember if I said it or not, but at least where the show leaves me at the end of this set, I don't know if I really even kind of care about that, because
oh really? Okay,
again,
I'm on the other side. Yeah.
Me personally, if the the show kind of set that up at the forefront, I feel like, where it was like, we don't really care so much about the huge thing that's going on. It's just going to be about these characters and their relationships. They're going to share all this physical pain, but now as it moves forward, they're starting to share more nuanced emotions, and all of these little subtle things keep showing up that make me like really just enjoy the journey that's happening, and I'm not so much looking for the destination.
Okay.
I find myself watching this show, but I can understand, and I can
Yeah.
agree with the fact that there's not so much of that concrete overhead happening that would really kind of keep a good sense of pacing with the overall story. It's very sporadic, and it's not doing a good job balancing intrigue with reveals.
No. Hello, Joker. Hello, everybody watching live. We have a lot of y'all watching on Twitch and YouTube. Send us an emote or an emoji for wherever you're watching, wherever you are. We love to say hey. Thorn Rose, Kaylin said, I would feel better if the story that brought them together was simpler, like Breakfast Club, rather than this weird experimental city. It does bring a lot to the table, because now I'm like, where did they get the money? I mean, we know how they got the money, but like, where did this happen? How did this start? And this brings me so many more questions about the things that I want to know about.
It definitely immediately just kind of reminds me of the whole setup that Death Parade, which we just watched, was going with, where to me it's like all of these characters, we get to see them put through these extreme conditions, which are their missions, and like what is the true nature that they reveal as we move forward, getting to make them become more fully rounded out characters, and not just these one note deadly sins that they're originally made out to be, which Sonozaki does touch on. She's like, at one point, I feel like we've marked them as these deadly sins, but that's not necessarily what they are.
Anyone pull Acheron? I have not. I did not pull. I pulled Pela, and I pulled somebody else. I forgot who it was. I put it in the Discord. I think as well, before we get into the episodes, because it's kind of a broad, I want to definitely talk about this anime together. I think I'm drawing too much parallel to Darling in the Franxx, which is one of my favorite animes, because this is sort of Darling in the Franxx, but with no mech fight stuff. And I'm like, and less ecchi, but it's like, I want there to be another thing. I want there to be another thing going towards it, like going. There's no action really. There's a lot of like really great stuff. I don't know. Maybe I just want something to break up the emotional part. Maybe I'm emotioned out.
Yeah,
maybe that's where I'm at.
That's
I'm like, I'm good. I'm emotional. I know, but like I've had a lot recently. So I'm like, I want something. I want like an action thing to happen. So that could be where I'm coming from.
Looking for the reprieve of the heaviness of some of the subject matter that this delves into. And it's like, it can, when I say heavy, it doesn't mean that's not to be looked at in a negative connotation. It's just one of those things where like the concepts of love, concept of being of being a what's the word, survivor's guilt, all these different like kind of things that take a lot of time for people to process and come to terms with sometimes are brought up. And again, it's like, I guess I find myself just very compelled to keep watching with how delicately it's able to handle that subject matter. And that's where like the show is kind of keeping me hooked in. It's not with, again, the bigger picture that's being painted or anything like that. It's just like, wow, they're able to encapsulate those emotions like so beautifully, and that's what keeps me hooked into the show. But like you said, I'm finding myself a little bit of maybe where's the chip? Where's the Kiznaiver chip? Get it out of me. I'm done with it. I'm
definitely feeling it. Let's talk about the episodes. So episode 5 of Kiznaiver. Wahoo, it's a training camp. Let's step in deer poop and have pillow fights. Go is the name of the episode. What happens there?
Upon arrival to the camp, The Kiznaiver split into groups to do chores. The bullies are shown to be on standby with other costumed people pouring out of a van. Later on in the evening, Maki is shown being pressured by somebody over the phone, and Chidori sees Katsuhira and Sonozaki together, which prompts her to run away into the woods. The teachers then make their presence known, everybody being brought together to save Chidori, with the teachers getting an introduction from Sonozaki. The Kiznaivers are then told they'll be taking part in a test of bravery. Test of bravery crisis ensues. Chidori is saved by the rest of the group as they march off into a new day. Sonozaki remarks how they are the first group to make it this far, and we learn the second phase of the program is finally about to begin.
Phase 2.
Phase 2 begins.
So this is sort of the start of the arc with Maki. We get the start of like the love triangle, rectangle, sort of
it develops further.
Yeah, there. We get a lot of the other teachers now. We got them into the mix, sort of. We got Yamada, who's the homeroom teacher, and Urushi, who is a school counselor, and Sonozaki is known as Nori-chan. So I don't know if there's anything there where she was maybe named something else, like that's her real name. Nori is her real name or something like that, but that's what they call her, other than Sonozaki. I don't know what to. I mean, we get it's really like, I don't know, low level, like girl sees them touching hands on the cheek, and she's like, oh my god, he likes her.
It wasn't really,
it was a fly, and I was like, okay, that's fine, whatever. But it kind of all sets up for this
development.
Yeah, it was for the development of everybody's feelings, because these are kids and they have feelings, and we're going to explore that. I saw there was a test of bravery. The chainsaw man makes an appearance in there with the chainsaws coming into the room, and they go to save not Maki. What's her name? Where's her name?
Chidori.
Yeah, Chidori. And they were like in a graveyard. Was that full of their like family? Was that real?
I don't know if that was just a like, what's it called? Maki kind of seeing that, but I think it was. But then all of the zombie puppets started to rise from the ground.
Yeah,
and they're like, these guys don't have weapons, just whack them. And it just turned into a bonking spree. I don't know what to say.
It was pretty fun. Claire says feelings are overrated. Suck it up. Oh, oops. Okay, might be. The tests aren't going as planned, because Sonozaki is like, wait, this wasn't a part of it. But they're like, there's a change of plans. So there's been a change of plans about how everything was going to develop that she didn't know about. So I think that's going to develop some distrust, or her possibly going to their side to help them against like the big corporations that make the Kizna group. I can already see that sort of setting it up. I don't know, haven't seen past these, but a couple of different things point to that, to where Sonozaki is going to be, I choose y'all are the best, and we're going to fight this group that's been doing this to kids for a long time. Kachan, or what's his, I write both of their names because they call them both Katsuhira, feels the heartbreak as pain. So we see that the development of them as a group, not only feeling physical pain, but they can also feel the pain of each other's emotions, and that's sort of developing. And that's just the next stage.
Fear, or like, what's it called?
Some strong emotion.
Like strong negative emotions are only what they're feeling from each other so far.
And they reached the domain that no one else could. So apparently this has been the farthest.
Kiznaivers have made it this far.
Yeah. So
we're in uncharted territory.
Exactly. We're in uncharted territory. We don't know what's going to happen, but these kids are the ones for some reason. Somehow, I don't know how is it that they are the ones to do it? I mean, I'm thinking of the city, because
I think it has something in part to do with the fact that the show keeps alluding to Katsuhira and Sonozaki being a part of the group that was the little kids that were experimented on way back when. And so I think it has something to do with their connection that is allowing the group as a whole to make it further than it has ever gone before.
Because when I think about it, the questions I have, how long have they been doing it? How many groups of kids have they been doing this with? Where they try and pair them together and get them to connect ultimately on another level. Wouldn't you think with so many trials and errors that would have gotten that far already? Or is there something flawed in the way they pick them because they're picking them as like the 7 deadly sins kind of? That they're just not meant to be friends, that these people are just not meant to get along at all because they're strong personalities in one direction.
But isn't that the entire point? Like, look, we managed to make all of these people get along and over their differences, so world peace.
I don't know what the point is. What is the point? We still don't know the point.
Something like that, right?
Yeah,
you know,
probably.
they're trying. It's a huge social experiment to try to solve world peace. That's the tagline, at least, on the experiment.
Are they gonna be like tasked to be the rulers or something? Like, what if that's it? Where they're like, okay, you did it. All the governments can say now, y'all are gonna rule Earth or something.
You think Tanga could have any
sort
of power?
Like they got connected, so now they're all connected, so they will never hurt each other. So they'll never do anything against each other. These are our 7 supreme
or is it like
beings.
they were able to do it, so this is proof that everybody should be a Kiznaiver and we should all Kiznaive
together. So
Kiznaive all the world's problems out of this place.
Step 1, pain for everyone. Step 2, question mark. Step 3, step 18, world peace. I mean, that's pretty much where we're at. Yeah.
First, we give everybody a chip, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. And then world peace. Because that's kind of how it feels like. Pain for everybody, but then everybody gets connected. No. Okay, world peace. Here we are. And
listen,
I'm like,
this is why it's the first time they've been in phase 2.
Yeah, I guess so. They're like,
been able to get through phase 1.
Oh my god, can we get the notes? Oh god, I gotta go. They made it. They did it.
So that's why, again, that's like, to me, the whole Kizna and Kiznaiver program, all of that is just set dressing to.
But I like that part. That's why I want more of it.
I know.
I like that idea.
It's awful that if that's the intrigue that people are sold on, that this show isn't going to probably provide great resolutions to it. But I ultimately just think that like we again, with these 12 episode animes, they got to know what story they're trying to tell. And it's similar to, like, again, I'll draw another comparison, something like Grimgar of Fantasy, I think it was called, where like we thought we were going to get this fantasy isekai action romp, but then it's like, oh, this is not what that show's about. So I feel like it's like, again, if you were sold on a high fantasy, power fantasy adventure with that one, you're ultimately going to be disappointed. If you're coming into this looking for some sci-fi thriller type beat, I think that's not what this is really trying to provide. I think it's more of a drama that's just got the dressing of a sci-fi thriller.
And 7 little silly guys just
sci-fi
hanging
action,
out.
I don't even know what you call it, but it's got the dressing of something else. But to its core, it's definitely subversive of things that I've watched similar to it that have gotten off to similar starts, where it's like, get the Avengers together to solve all the problems, then they go off and do it.
Episode 6, nothing good comes from being around you. This is getting to the one. Is this the one? No, this is getting to the one where I was like, okay, this is crazy. But episode 6, what happens in episode 6?
We begin with a flashback of Maki and her friend Ruru, who has passed away. Katsuhira starts to recall his memories about Sonozaki, beginning to call her Nori, to Chidori's dismay. Sonozaki reveals that all of their emotions are continuing to link together more comprehensively. Everybody notes how Maki continues to give the cold shoulder, even though she shows up every time she's called upon, Nico attempting to gain ground again, but being rejected. Sonozaki is shown being questioned by the mayor about the Kizna program, but she insists that she will provide results. Yuta realizes that Maki might be the author of a popular manga that is circulating in his class. Maki is pressed by an editor to make her manga a movie, with Yuta interrupting, giving her a window to leave, insisting that he went overboard. Yuta informs the group of his discoveries involving Maki and Ruru and how they co-wrote the popular manga that everybody loves. Everyone is given a mission to save Maki as paparazzi show up at school to harass her, then revealing her secret pen name. The Kiznaivers disperse the paparazzi and crowd, but Maki flees, Nico noting how the pain shared across all of them would be more intense for her to bear alone. Chidori expresses his disappointment in Sonozaki for whatever reason.
Katsuhira
expresses his disappointment
with
Sonozaki. Thank you. Yeah.
So we get like the finality or the beginning of this Maki arc, which was interesting and something that I was not expecting. But we get some really cool quotes, which are pretty funny. Well, some of them are funny. One of them is pain is a way to connect hearts, which is something that's been the theme of this whole opening scene or this opening couple episodes. Whenever the Sonozaki is talking to the mayor, she says, "Have a bun to calm your buns." I thought that was pretty funny. And then like that's a returning thing in another episode where she's like, "Calm your buns" or something, which is pretty funny. So I like that.
Did I toast your buns?
Yeah, did I tell? Yeah. We get that the government's growing impatient, and that these benefactors that are
like dropping out, pulling out.
Yeah, dropping out, or they don't want this to become a thing to the outside world, because if they get their name attached to what's going on to these kids, it's going to be bad. And yeah, I totally agree. You should not have done it in the first place, but whatever. In the name of world peace, I suppose. None there's yeah, fucking none are actually deadly sins, is what Sonozaki says. I think the forgetful Pris is the real sin, because that is Maki. Maki and Ruru made a manga that they wanted to release. The people that wanted to make a movie about it want to make a documentary about the people, because nobody knows who made this manga, but it's an amazing manga for kids and girls and middle school girls and all that stuff. So they want to make this documentary. I did not expect this from this thing, but I'm okay with it. I mean, again, it's like the background to what's actually going on, the connection between Maki and Ruru, the connection with the whole
and it's
group.
Like it's kind of shown off, like, you know, how in the last episode she's like dealing with somebody on the phone and she's like, I already said no, like I'm not gonna back down from that.
I didn't know it was gonna be this, that she made a manga.
She's a mangaka.
Yeah.
Well, but then, like, you know, I like how it continues to get more depth in the next episode, where it's like, you know, they co-wrote it, but it's like they co-wrote it on seeing each other's stuff and being like, oh, blah 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 blah. We'll get into it, but yeah, I didn't think that that's where Maki's whole story was going to go with her friend.
And I guess we can talk about it in the next episode, because we get more information about their relationship and how it ended and things like that. Again, not so much about what's going on, which is fine. I mean, we're diving into a little story. What does this do for us in the anime right now? This brings them closer together. This shows the weakest link in all of them, and the connection between all of them, how far away they are from everybody, and possibly bridging that gap closer, because they're like, we got to be friends. We can just be friends together and this will work out and we'll win and we'll do all this stuff. So is that ultimately what this is? Well, other than providing more depth for a character, how does this move the story along? It's them getting connected finally, and then we'll be on to the next thing as a group together. Like, oh, we're finally made it. Now let's tackle the thing, whatever that's going to be.
Well, it does, you know, so as an episode, I think that it does a really good job. There's another quote from Sonozaki where she says something like, the past that you want to forget is the past that you have to try hardest to remember, something like that. Alluding to that you have to like learn from those past mistakes, even though it you might want to forget those things that happened. You might want to just leave it, but you have to bear it in order to grow as a person, in order to get past it. It gives us the setup for Sonozaki giving them the mission, like, oh, you have to go save Maki. She doesn't know what this mission is about. And everybody shows up to break up the paparazzi, yada, yada. But Maki still ends up running off. And I think it's a good setup that, like, before they know what's actually, like, going on, they aren't really at odds to, like, kind of help, because they don't really understand the depth of
the
what
pen
she's
writing,
going through. Yeah, they don't.
Her being possibly famous, I guess.
Yeah. So, I mean, it gives us a couple of reveals, and I think it's kind of more of a setup to the next episode, where this one, like, up to now, we see what everybody else has seen, that Maki treating everybody with like the cold shoulder, up until she had that weird encounter with Yuta that got broken up. And so that immediately is like what kind of pulled that out of her.
Yeah, because we didn't really mention that they had some sort of thing, and she was just kind of reckless in in her body, reckless with how she cares to be perceived, and seems like she doesn't really care. So originally I had thought like, oh, she's maybe suicidal or something, or she was like, she could end it at any moment.
It gets into that survivor's guilt type thing.
Yeah.
Now up until this point, we don't get till the next episode, I think, that we learn that her friend was actually like diagnosed from a very early age, and there's always this looming presence of that in their relationship, probably. But yeah, I think it's a good setup episode for us to like realistically buy into the fact that we want to see all of them overcome their differences and become friends, but it's not as easy as like, as shoving paparazzi away from them. It's not as easy as coming into a meeting and kicking the guy in the nuts that seems to be bugging Maki. Like those types of things, like it's not gonna just make her be your friend. You have to come to understand
where she is,
what she's bearing, so then she can even begin to feel comforted by your guys' presence. And I think that's what Yuta eventually goes on to do after he like kind of is able to connect the dots.
Mm-hmm.
But until they have dots to connect, it also shows that like, how are they even supposed to kind of engage with that if she's just constantly being dismissive of them?
And I think this is the last time that they're going to do something like this. I mean, I have faith that we're all connected here now after episode 8.
There's one line that makes me maybe think against that. And I think it was in this episode, but it's like it's when they're all sitting around just kind of like shooting shit inside of Katsuhira's place. Chidori says something to Tenga along the lines of like, come on, like I forgot what she says. Like, do you even have emotions or something like that? And he kind of gives pause. He like almost like jumps in. He's like, come on, man. And then he's like, you know what? Just forget it. So like it almost like alludes. It kind of alludes to the fact that there's something under his shell that he hasn't really kind of opened up and aired out to the group. And I have a feeling.
Well, I think it's the feelings for Nico. Maybe
it might be the fact that he has feelings for Nico or for Chidori. They kind of show off, which I could buy that he has feelings for Chidori and that he's just trying to play it off that like he's trying to help her.
I think it's more of that because, I mean, one, we don't have time to delve into another character if we want to do anything towards the end, but also it's like that's kind of, we're set up for Tenga. We haven't really got a whole lot about him, but we have got a lot about him. We got him that he's like the muscle guy, and he's silly, dumb. He says some stuff that we don't totally agree with.
He has kind of eased off that, at least. That kind of, and even what's his name, the guy that was supposed to be immoral, he hasn't become as much of like a,
he's
like,
just kind of back there.
Yeah, he's just kind of back there,
I'm cool with
being
that.
a little silly sometimes, but it's never like
he just
uncomfortable
out, bro.
which I thought it was going to get to that point. That was one thing I was worried about moving forward, but
yeah,
he's fine, surprisingly.
Nope. He's cool. Yeah. He just takes his pain and he's like, okay, I'm chill over here, man.
I even love the part where, I think it's in the next episode, but I'll forget to mention, where he's like, don't worry, he's gonna share his natural beautiful guy germs with you.
Yeah, like, it's like the guy juice or whatever. Handsome boy juice or whatever.
It's hilarious. So I mean, yeah, the more I talk about it, the more it's just me being sold on the characters themselves and like wanting to see them kind of like overcome their faults using the power of Kiznaiving.
Episode 7, a battle touching upon the identity of the pain that 7 times the pain of 1/7 of a pain is the name of the episode. What happens?
The Kiznaivers question Ruru's parents on the falling out between her and Maki, Nico being overwhelmed and becoming defensive of Maki's actions. So Nozaki later acknowledging the delicacy of the subject matter to help absolve Nico's feelings of guilt. The development of Maki and Ruru's relationship is given to us via flashback from starting their manga together to their falling out before the last chapter. Maki never decided to read the final chapter. The Kiznaivers double down on their insistence to make Maki their friend, deciding to go see her in person. So Nozaki further contemplates Katsuhira's words of disappointment, then seeing Nico call out to Maki, telling her that Ruru's death isn't her burden to carry. Yuta insists that Maki read the last chapter of the manga, Maki revealing why she had to pull away from Ruru. Maki reads the last chapter as she is able to put her thoughts of Ruru to rest, as the rest of the Kiznaivers comfort her embracing them with a smile on her face.
Oh man, this episode was good. I liked this one.
It was really good. It was a really
this
good
one
episode.
Was crazy.
If this series gave me anything, I'm happy it gave me episode 7.
Yeah, that's true. I really like this one. So Ruru, who was Maki's friend or Maki's only friend, I guess. Ruru and Maki were each other's only friend. Ruru had kidney disease since she was very little, but Maki, towards the end, pushed her away. And there was another good line here about this, and I think it was with Nico, where she was kind of contemplating, and it made me think about it too, like what does it mean to be a friend, really? And the small understanding of Nico, because she'd never had friends and she wanted to make this group her friend group, and she wanted Maki to be a friend. And she ultimately like says this, where it's like, is a friend's obligation to never leave their side? Is it a friend's obligation to just never leave? Like once you become a friend, this is it. We're friends now, and you're going to be friends forever. And like the way that she was thinking about it, I was like, well, things change and like all this stuff, like it's so much more complex, but like her thinking about it in that way, I was like, okay. And the way that she thinks Maki thinks of it in that way, I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Never thought about it like that.
Was that, do you mean the right at the start where her parents like then kick her out?
Yes.
Yeah. I think I like the way that it wraps into like Nico being like, I asked her to be my friend, like she said no, and it's like
and it's understandable.
Like, it's understandable, like those are her feelings, like, and her feelings are her feelings. Like why like in all honesty, why should she be responsible for why should she be solely responsible for the fact that they stopped being friends to a certain degree? That's kind of like what I got out of that. And that's where her parents were, her mom, Ruru's mom specifically, like was like, nah, like get out of here, took that as disrespect. And even Katsuhiro was kind of like, that was kind of messed up, but like I get why you're upset, but that was like 80% messed up.
Yeah.
But so you were like 20% fine, but 80% of that was pretty messed up. And it's like, yeah, like Nico became overwhelmed and kind of let her emotions take over in that moment, and she probably shouldn't have done that in the presence of Ruru's parents. Like that
We're
probably would have
obviously
been,
still grieving
yeah,
their
exactly.
kid.
Like it would have probably been in better taste for her to say that in isolation amongst themselves, and that's where I think Katsuhira's point lies, not in what she actually said wasn't okay. It's just the fact that you did that in front of her parents. Like that was pretty
Yeah,
messed up. I think that's where he's driving home at.
sure. Ruru and Maki work together, making up for each other's discrepancies on this manga. Super cute. One can draw, one can write good story. Well, let's work on this together. Cool. And then Ruru has this sort of thing. I don't know how to explain it. Like Ruru comes on to Maki, sort of, kind of, but I don't believe it really. But like I'm the way I thought about it, because she was kind of pushing Maki to the edge. And now we know that Maki was like, I don't want to get too close to you because you are going to be gone and this is going to suck. And if we become more than friends, like it's going to suck for me that still has to stay here. But Ruru, the way I was thinking about it on her end was like, who cares? Like she was just doing whatever she had that positivity in her because she knew that her end was coming at some point closer than anybody else really that she knows. And I felt like she was just like, I'm going to do the fun stuff. I'm going to,
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you. And I think that's why in episode 6 and in the last episode, it showed Ruru in that moment where she was like, yeah, like, call me stupid more. Like, I love to hear that. Yeah, I'm stupid. Don't you want to get rid of me? And then she just like threw herself to the
and
rocks.
then
And,
she
like she
falls. Yeah.
literally would have died if
Yeah.
Maki hadn't done anything.
And
And
I
so
think
I
that's just
definitely
her.
think
Yeah.
that like Ruru in a sense was like, I'm here because you're here, and until as long as that's a fact, like I'm okay with that. But if you want to get rid of me, I'm okay with you not catching me right here in this moment. But you want to
Which is
catch me,
crazy.
so I am still here and I'll still keep going.
Which
So
is
I definitely
wild.
agree with you, and I think that was the point of that scene as well, was to help drive kind of that dynamic home. But hey, that's just me.
I'll curse you so that you only love me forever. And that was
Wild
sort
thing
of
to
true.
say.
Yeah, wild.
But then, like, we get the reveal that those aren't the words that she wrote. So
true.
was it like, again, it adds more nuance, I guess, to the theory we just put forward, because it's like, did she say that because in the moment she was like heartbroken, or was it because she was just like angry at her angry or mad at her friend for like telling her no? So she was like, I'm just gonna do this. But then the words that she left behind were also pretty strong. So it's like, was that there? But then the second it was, when she was making a move on Maki, and Maki's the one to push her off, she just plays it off like, oh, I'm just joking, to like save face, because she didn't want to make things awkward, and she wanted to be able to keep Maki as a friend, because again, if you're ready to get rid of me,
I'm gone. I'm dead. Falling off.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't, there's a lot of like ways to interpret, I guess, these two episodes to break it down. But I, again, just kind of, I like the place where we're left. I like the way it gets like resolved.
Some other minor things. Katsuhira, is that his name? Yeah, Katsuhira does show some emotion in this one, and he says that it's fun to have Tanga around, because Chidori's like, yo, he's still here, what the heck?
He said that with a smile on his face,
he was like, it's kind of fun having Tanga around. It's like, oh yes. So like it is building on me, like the emotions of the characters, or the emotion of the character with no emotion, and it's finally like seeing him turn around a little bit, and I'm like, oh yeah, he's getting some friends here, and it doesn't go unnoticed there for sure. A question I posed in this episode was, did Sonozaki have her own crew of Kiznaivers? That's interesting, and we figure that out possibly at the end of the next episode. But they go into the water together as friends, and Maki says, we aren't friends. We're even closer than friends or lovers. We are connected and all that stuff. So I was like, oh, that's cool. That's cute. I love that. Love that for them. Love my little silly guys. Episode.
Yeah, I love. I love the way that we really haven't gotten Maki, smile at all, and I love the way the last words were, because I love your smile, and then we immediately get to see like she just embraces that, and we get to see Maki with a smile on her face.
So with
everybody else,
in like a time capsule of these two episodes, I loved it. Like I loved these two episodes together. That little story, Maki mini arc Maki here, just telling a beautiful little story. And I'm like, that's cool. Love that stuff. All right, I'm down. Let's go to the main story.
That is the main story.
Oh, okay. My bad. I was too busy looking at the horizon and I didn't look down at the flowers. And I was like, well, shit. Okay.
Yep.
Here's the flowers, I guess.
Exactly.
Episode 8, happy times don't tend to last very long. What happens in episode 8?
The Kizna program seems to be gaining traction as Sonozaki remains dumbfounded by Katsuhira's words. The depth and history of the Kizna program is revealed to the Kiznaivers before they have to settle into riding out a storm that has hit their area. The Kizna directors seem to have planned this all out as they take the opportunity to isolate different Kiznaivers in an attempt to prompt romantic situations. Sonozaki realizes Katsuhira's possible feelings towards her, then setting off to find him. Everyone's emotions come to boiling points as Chidori begins to confess her feelings to Katsuhira. Him being distracted by Sonozaki's arrival, which drones out everything else as he rushes to save her from a falling statue. She asks if she exists within him before she breaks her necklace, revealing a Kiznaiver scar on her neck.
Whoa, plot twist.
Except we saw that already, and I pointed it out last episode.
That's crazy. So Typhoon's coming. They say, the directors, I guess, they say that originally they were only trying to connect emotions, and they explain more that Kiznaivers connected the pain of children that are even younger than the kids that they are now. So they're at some point, and we get some flashbacks, and now we're kind of connecting the dots that there was kids and there were some people in this group that were a part of those kids that were connected early on, way in the back, in the past, that they were connecting the pain from children. And Katsuhira asked, are these kids alive? Where are these kids now? No answer to those questions there. Another thing was
alive.
Yeah, well, they are alive. Everybody's alive.
He didn't answer like where they are.
No. Sonozaki is taking some sort of injections. We've seen this a couple times, but this one was like a more longer view of this. So what do you think that is? Because they haven't really explained anything. They haven't said that the Kiznaivers have to take anything to live or anything, but like she's been taking these injections or something. Is this connected to her Kiznaiver ability, connection? Is this to keep her alive? Dang, where do you think that's going?
Thought too much on predictions. That one. Haven't thought too much on the needles.
Because it's happened 3 times, I think, where she's just kind of there alone and she, boop. Okay.
Yeah, maybe it's like keeping her isolated out of it, and that's why like it's such a big deal that she broke off her necklace and it's starting to like, light up because she's allowing like her little thing to reactivate.
Yeah, maybe it is to suppress her pain because she's still feeling the pain from all the other ones.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what
numb her.
Maybe that's what she means when she says that he exists within her.
Yeah.
So she wants to know if she exists within him.
She probably has all his pain that he has lacked feeling from. And that's why in the beginning, probably where she's like, I'll get your pain back to you, because maybe there was some way that it's not possible.
Originally the Kiznaiver program with the kids, it like didn't let a group of them all experience. Maybe it was like you were paired off and like you swapped completely.
Pain.
Like I feel what you feel what I feel, and there's no in between. So she doesn't feel anything. She is this pristine, icon of the Kizna program and is always completely isolated. And with then
we've never seen her
like bodyguards. So she never really gets hit or falls over or anything like that. She never experiences anything because of that condition. So yeah, maybe ultimately it's going to reveal that they're linked with each other, and that's why Sonozaki started the series how he did, because she doesn't ever get any stimuli, so he just never feels anything.
Yeah.
So everything that he's constantly been feeling, she's probably been feeling. But maybe that's what that's for, is to suppress it and make it numb, so that way it doesn't overwhelm her, because
I think
he's
that's
suppressing so much.
Mm-hmm. We get some love triangles, some love things happen. Love being like there. I mean, it was kind of alluding it up until now.
It was.
But like,
I even said that, that's kind of where the 4th episode left us off, was kind of hinting at this love triangle, rectangle situation going on. But instead of what's her name being there, where Nico is, like, I imagine Sonozaki being there instead.
Sure. Well, Tenga and Nico are going to be paired off together, I suppose.
Which, like, I don't see how that's a thing. That it never really alluded to them kind of having a connection before.
Well, no, it was in this episode where he was like, "Wear this, you're cuter with my jacket on." She was like, "Oh my god!"
I mean, I felt like that was just kind of forced. That's
a little bit.
Thing I felt like that was forced. I buy Yuta and Maki, because we've already seen their kind of situations, and Yuta even went like, I'm reading this to try to understand you better, because I want to help you.
And that was cute.
That was like, I buy their relationship as it's been moving forward. But yeah, Tenga and Nico, I just don't.
Maybe
if that's the setup for later, then yeah, but I don't. If that's supposed to be some sort of a,
we've seen it all along.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's like not. No, definitely not.
That wasn't there before.
So what do we think about the love triangle here? Because Chidori is trying to express her feelings, tell Kazuhira.
I hate that we got cliffhung on that, because it's clear that, like, while she was just completely emptying her heart to him, he was just like totally zoned out somewhere else, not with her.
And that kind of sucked.
That made me like just hurt for her.
Yeah,
we don't get any idea of what we know, like, what she's talking about, but we have no idea what she's saying, as it shows her continue to just dump more out and out.
Yeah. So is she gonna eventually just be like, "You're not good for me. Like, you're not. I'm giving you so much and you haven't, and I'm trying and you don't understand that. I'm gonna be the sacrifice and go." Or maybe it turns out that Chidori becomes like something evil, not evil, but the most evil you can be in this situation, where she doesn't want to connect, and that's why. I don't know, it doesn't work out or something. Like, something happens to where she doesn't want to connect because of all the stuff she's been pouring into him, how he still does not have eyes for her, that he doesn't even comprehend what's going on. And
well, I like, there's a part of me that wants to think that he's starting to get that, because in episode 5 we saw that, like, he said something along the lines of, she's like, "Am I heavy?" And he's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh." And he's like, no, like, that's just the way you are. And she's like, "What is that supposed to mean?" And he's like, "I'm trying to tell you, you're fine just the way you are." Like, her grip on him tightens, and it's like there's something there that I know that he knows about. He's like, "No, I didn't know that."
He hasn't said anything, though. That could be just him being oblivious.
I think it's subconscious, and it's not like something that he even, like, even way back when she was like, I used to love you, and then he was like, "I can forget you said that," because if it's,
or whenever he gets his feelings back, that's when the feelings for Chidori come in, and he's like, "Oh my god, this is where it's been," or something.
Because all he feels right now is what other people feel. He doesn't feel what he is feeling.
I don't know. I don't know where this is going.
Except disappointment in what's her name, apparently.
Yeah. So Sonozaki, was doing this whole thing. She took off her neck, or her necklace broke, and reveals that she has a Kiznaiver scar here. She's a Kiznaiver. She's taken his pain this whole time. Do I live inside of you? What's happening here?
Roll credits.
Yeah. That's how we leave. I mean, that was a pretty good cliffhanger there, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. I just can imagine the next episode starting and them having that moment, and then it just like pans over to Chidori just like standing there with her jaw agape.
Yeah.
And then I just turn off the TV.
I saw a comment on the Crunchyroll comments. They're like, you get a ship, you get a ship, you get a ship. And then Chidori, not you. Because everybody's getting paired off. And it's like, you get a person, you get it. And it's like, Chidori, no.
Except for what's his name? He's just an enigma.
Yeah. They were like, they didn't even bother.
Yeah.
They were like,
they're just like, he's just fine. On hold.
Yeah.
We don't,
put him on
really
hold.
Get
put
him
on ice. You don't really understand.
And they even said that like Maki's on hold too, because like she's still getting over her feelings for her ex-friend. And like, I can buy that Maki has feelings for Yuta now, like after that whole experience in episode 7.
Yeah.
So them saying that kind of threw me for a loop, because I don't feel like it's so much one-sided anymore with Yuta and Maki, but that's just me.
Mm-hmm. I think it will develop into something.
The
but
experts,
the experts, yeah.
I don't have any graphs to pull up about the love triangulation of X, Y, and Z.
The Kiznaiver, researchers have been great so far. So this is the farthest they've gone. They're like, oh, we got to make up some story. We got to pair them off to people. But what are some predictions here going into it? Because next week is the last time that we're going to be talking about this anime, and then we're going to pick a brand new anime to talk about. But we're going to be finishing off the season. And what are some predictions? What do you want to happen? What are some thoughts going into the final 4 episodes?
I want something to happen between Katsuhira and Sonozaki that kind of, yeah, exactly, like gives him his feelings back. And ultimately I want to see Chidori walking out of this story with Katsuhira. I don't want Katsuhira and I'm not shipping Katsuhira and Sonozaki.
What? Really?
Yeah.
I like them too, because they're both just not aware of things. The way I still can't get over the scene where she's what's her name?
Sonozaki.
Sonozaki is just in the bus. She doesn't understand how the game's playing. And I could just picture them two just living some life together in an apartment, not really understanding each other, but liking each other's company. And
neither of them has a single thought.
Yeah,
there needs to be at least one brain cell shared between the two of them for me to ship.
There was one thought, but I think Chidori is too good for Katsuhira, so there it is.
Yeah, but like the heart wants what the heart wants, as they say.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want things to work out for everybody, because I like all these guys. That's the thing. But where the story's going, it's not really shaping up to do that, especially with that whole them directly acknowledging that there's a romantic triangle going along. Those never end well for somebody. Somebody is, there's only 3 points to triangle, only 2 points to a relationship.
As far as the main story goes, I just hope that there is just some smidgen of clarity about how this is supposed to provide world peace. That's all I want. Just some smidgen. I know it's probably gonna set up for a season 2 like the last couple anime we watched, but I just want some definite answer about how these, or where this is supposed to go, or how this is supposed to go.
It's like if
in a perfect world,
if I could draw a Venn diagram, it's like Kiznaiver, good character development, and then over here, disconnected from Kiznaiver in its own bubble, is just like world building, proper pacing, compelling storytelling, and like everything else that you can find in anime. This anime has kind of one thing going for it, and that's the character development and the art direction, not the animation. Cool. The animation, we haven't really been talking about that a lot. The animation isn't that great. it's pretty like bare bones, and the times we do get like anything kind of dynamic, it's very underwhelming.
A lot of the scenes we have with characters far away, they're missing a face, which is kind of cute and kind of funny, but like put some.
But anytime like, you know, we have action, like people getting like bonked and hit and stuff like that, it's a lot of one pose in the moment. It's not like giving it's not giving a lot. So the animation isn't that great. The art direction and the characters, like the character art styles is great though. So everything about this show that I have to say that's positive, which is very positive, is all about the characters. I'm trying to keep things on positive notes as much as possible, but like I just can't find myself being sold on anything else that the medium can provide, like a compelling story, good world building, a dynamic power system, anything like that that anime provides. It's just completely out of left field for this anime, which, you know, will come up in what's it called, in the rankings for sure. So that's I mean, would I like to be surprised? Would I like to see the show turn a 180 and be and like, oh my god, it's the best piece
they
of
wrap it up at
ever.
the end. Yeah,
like of course that's what I want for this, but I just don't see like the cards on the table coming out to that being the case.
nope. Manny, I'm sorry, I don't have followage. I don't stream on Twitch anymore. I think I have it off, so I'm streaming on YouTube as well. So I stream on my YouTube and just do this show on Twitch only throughout the week. I'm sorry. Yeah, you probably have been following for a while. I've been streaming for about 5 years now. Claire, I feel like that is the problem with a lot of shows, both anime and event television. They're too busy setting up a second season to deliver anything, ensuring they'll never get a second season. Yeah, and I hate that, man. And I also hate how shows are just so short. I mean, more in the live action scene where there's like 6 hour long episodes, and they call that like a season, 9 episodes, and it's like, I want more. Give me more. And also don't hold off to a season 2, because that sucks. That doesn't, I don't know. There's such a hard way to do it and have me hooked to figure it out. And if this show sets up for a season 2, I don't think I want to watch it. Like
No.
I don't have the time.
I wouldn't,
I don't want to.
I wouldn't. I don't know if I would have watched this past the 4th episode, past the first set, if it wasn't for the show. I'm glad I got to experience again episode 6 and episode 7, because those were very profound for what they were. But after the 12th episode, this is definitely going in, like, you know, the locker of 12 episode animes, you know, that I got to experience, that I find to be more compelling as an experience than as a like as anything like with a sense of like compelling storytelling, things that are like, oh, this is the encompassment of like the medium and why we try to find more different diverse anime to watch is for anime like this. It's not one of those, but what it's putting down and what the show is wanting to do, it is doing well, but it's leaving a lot to be desired, for sure.
Definitely. Yes, I stream on YouTube. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But Matt, when you're not being Kiznaiver, where can they find you on the internet?
On the internet, you could find me on my Twitch, Matt_Galley, or on any socials, just add an ITS at the front, make it it's Matt_Galley on X and Instagram. When we're not here Kiznaiving it up, where can the people find you?
Find me on YouTube. I've been releasing a lot of YouTube videos over there. We are almost at 2,500 subscribers. We're at 2,400 something, which is insane.
I heard
so go subscribe.
Monster Hunter.
I've been playing some Monster Hunter. I'm probably going to do a stream of the new Honkai stuff. A lot of Helldivers if you want to play Helldivers. So I don't stream on Twitch anymore. I do not. I know you're watching this right patched here. Yeah, Helldivers did just get patched. So I'm probably going to play that tomorrow, Friday. I don't stream on Twitch. If you're watching this on Twitch, this is the only thing I do on Twitch is the show. I simulcast it over on YouTube. So go to youtube.com/JulesTheHuman. And you can see all my lives there. If you want to play Helldivers, we've been playing, me and Matt specifically have been diving pretty much all the time. Yes, we for liberty and freedom and democracy, all of the above, all of them. Checked all the boxes there. But I stream over there on YouTube, youtube.com, and you can also find the podcast over there on YouTube as well. So if you miss any of it, you can go and watch the episodes. They get uploaded on Fridays and on Spotify. I was a little bit late this week, but it's up on Spotify for next week.
And if you're listening on those platforms, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. It really helps us out in that algorithm.
Thumbs up on this video if you're watching on YouTube. Next week, we're going to be finishing Kiznaiver. We're going to watch the last 4 episodes of Kiznaiver. And then after that, we're going to put it on the board of all the anime we've watched. And then we're going to pick a brand new anime out of one of these here that is suggested by me or Matt and one of you, some of you from the community. So one of these new anime are going to be it for the next 3 weeks. After this podcast is up, I'm going to put what is it called? A survey, a Google survey, so that you can rate it. If you watch Kiznaivers with us, God bless you. But you can vote on where this anime gets put into this list. You'll be able to vote. It'll be in the Discord. It'll be probably linked in the description of this video and everywhere I can post it. So you can vote on where you put Kiznaivers S through F as an anime in total. And we'll contabulate the rankings and put them all together, and that'll be where it'll sit. So that's for next week. And yeah, this has been the Anime Hour. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.